a round of NRL we had over the weekend so far, and the man who's going to tell us all about it is James Sullivan. But first, let's have a listen to this.
Pappenhausen to score. Hughes, Peasant, Pappenhausen, Remus Smith. He goes to maybe a coach. Can you believe it?
Out to their left-hand side. Smith did well just to get the footy in his hands early enough to give him a shot at the line. Zalesniak was coming. Look at this. He leaps from 5 or 6 metres out. Oh, my gosh. Oh!
He's 6 feet in the air. It's a photo finish between his left hand hitting the turf and the ball hitting the turf. The ball beats his left hand by centimetres. Watch it again.
Oh, Sul, is this the greatest try of all time?
Unbelievable, Marty. Good morning, listeners. And I'm getting the goosebumps just listening to that then. But incredible. I said years ago, I'm not sure how long ago it was now, maybe 5, 6 years, probably maybe even longer. The best thing they did, they kept the corner post live. And you've seen these players, you see these wingers now. And the funny thing about it, one of them was the bloke that Xavier Coates went over the top of, Delan Watini-Zalesniak. He's one of the acrobatic ones as well. But, for Xavier Coates to do that and the stakes that were at stakes, and let's not forget the Warriors in this game, Marty. They were down 18-6 at half-time, got back into the game. They led 26-18 at the 60th minute, and then it just looked like the Storm were just running out of option. Pappenhausen then scores his second try on the back of Couture. Lovely pass, quick hands, bang, back inside. And then I was watching it with friends, and we're all looking at each other. I looked at a mate, and I said, get at the coach. And he just went, I've seen this all before. And unbelievably, the Melbourne Storm, and we won't forget about it ever, because it is, mate, it's the best I've seen.
Well, it's to win the match, isn't it? It's to win the match as well.
Well, it's akin, the drama of it is akin to, obviously, the Cowboys scoring in the last minute and Jonathan Thurston missing the conversion from the sideline. But this is to win a game. It was gone. And the closeness of whether puts the ball down and then the left hand almost simultaneously hits the turf out, in touch. So, oh, mate, and just as I said, the theatre of the whole game, though, and mate, it was a high-quality game because, as I said, half-time, the Storm just went bang early in that opening 21 minutes, and the Warriors, through Sean Johnson, got themselves back in the game. And, I think Craig Bellamy, he was pretty good. I'll tell you what I did love last night, 45, 50 minutes after the game, the players are still out there on the field. Had a bit of fun with Craig Bellamy, but at the end of the day, two of their high-profile players, Cameron Munster and Nelson Osofa Solomona, we haven't seen so far this year. So, mate, they're 2-2. I think he'd be pretty happy, as he said last night, Craig Bellamy. He said, mate, we've beaten the Panthers, we've beaten the Warriors. 2 good eggs. So, but, yeah, incredible, mate. Absolutely incredible.
Okay, let's go back to Friday night and Friday afternoon, I should say. Sharks 25 against the Bulldogs 6 after the Bulldogs scored first.
Yeah, I thought they'd do. We were pretty happy. We thought they'd do the job on them, and they certainly did. So happy at home. Took a while to get into it, but, Bulldogs are really, nothing's clicked so far, Marty, in this season. So they're going to have to really work hard on that. I know Cameron Serrato, he's probably just trying to find who fits here, who fits there. But, 6 points, not good enough in 80 minutes.
The Eels led 18-16 at half-time. Panthers overrun them in the second half, scoring 10-0, winning 26-18.
Yeah, they did. And as you said, the Eels led at half-time. And we spoke about it Friday afternoon about, what the Panthers need to find their mojo and attack. And they did. And the bottom line is they were under pressure at half-time. And Taruva and Tago score those 2 tries in the second half. I think Penrith fans will be happy with that. Well, they will be, of course. It was their first win for the year. But moving forward, I like what I saw from the Panthers in the second half. And it does take a while to get things rolling, doesn't it? As we know, they came back from the World Club Challenge and obviously beaten last week. But, mate, the Storm round 1, that's a tough gig.
Hey, your boys are Raiders. Good start to the season. I know you've got a few boys, actually, by the way, but one of your boys, the Raiders, 24-12 half-time again. West Tigers couldn't score in the second half. Raiders win 32-12.
Yeah, they were very clunky in that second half because, as you say, they had their opportunities, the West Tigers. The young Lachlan Galvin, one thing, 18-year-old kid, mate. He was good, when I look at it like that. But as you say, the Raiders 2-2. Everybody touted them as wooden spooners finishing. I'm not saying they're going to make the 8, but they won't get the wooden spoon. But a good start. Zach Hosking once again been very good. Ethan Strange, the 5'8", he's fitted in there beautifully. Another youngster. So, mate, they'd be happy with that. West Tigers, that was their first game, of course. They had the bye last week. So we'll give them a few weeks just to gel as a team. They're new halves. So interesting to see how they end up.
Well, tell us about this match. Cowboys 21, Knights 20 in overtime.
Oh, you talk about games that, flowed. And I tell you what, they had 60% of the footy at half-time, the Newcastle Knights. And this was a concern. They led 12-0. They should have led 24-0 because the Cowboys just kept handing over the footy. Val Holmes will not play a worse game ever, Marty. He had his worst game ever. He only needed 12 points to get 1,000. And, oh, dear me, he must have been thinking about it. But I think the humidity up there, very, very hot, as you know. But they train in it. They could not hang on to the footy, the Cowboys. Yep. And all of a sudden, the second half, they started to get a little bit more possession. Tommy did and scores, and Jeremy Nanai scores that late one. And as you say, we go to our first Golden Point game, and Chad Townsend didn't muck around, mate. They went straight. They went straight downfield. He went bang, kicked it in them. I think a minute 49. He give me the ball, I'll kick the field goal, and that's what he did. And they got away with one. But they're 2-2 as well. But as you say, we all do love a Golden Point thriller, and then it just, mate. It was like the entree before the main meal, wasn't it? And then we got that absolute, well, you can say what you like, but plenty of description, but I thought it was absolutely brilliant Saturday night footy.
It certainly was. Now, let's have a look at the ladder before there's two very interesting games to look at today. So, Raiders, Cowboys, Sharks, Storm are all unbeaten, 2 from 2. Then the Dragons, who play today, Sea Eagles play today, Roosters play today, have all won one match.
Yep.
And the Eels have played 2 for 1 loss. The Broncos 2 for 1 loss, 1 win as well. Panthers are in that boat. So we have a look at 2, as I said, very interesting games. You might think Manly Sea Eagles and Sydney Roosters, didn't they just play each other maybe in Las Vegas?
No. They were the sides that were in Las Vegas, remember?
Oh, sorry, in Las... That's right, they were.
Yeah. These two sides were the winners.
That's right. Sorry, apologies. No,
you're good, mate. No, well, the Rabbitohs played Thursday night, the 2 losers, and the Rabbitohs are still 0-2, but these are the 2 winners. So, mate, I tell you what, Brookvale, 4 Pines, whatever they call it, well, they can call it that, but I still call it Brookvale Oval. Mate, they'll be sitting on the roof. There will be people everywhere. It's going to be a bit wet in Sydney too today, so that'll diminish it a little bit, but this is going to be a beauty. Tedesco, Manu, Dom Young, the big recruit from the Knights, he makes his first... he has his first game in Roosters colours. Then you got Turbo, Tommy Travojevic, and the Travojevic brothers, Daly Cherry Evans. He was outstanding, I thought, in Vegas as well. So, mate, going to be a beauty. Last year, now, Brookvale wasn't the place that Sea Eagles fans really wanted it to be. They won 6 from 10 at home, and the Roosters have won 3 of their past 4 there, so they don't mind going there. So, mate, it's going to be a tight game. I think... I sort of ummed and ahed, was there going to be a lot of points? But I think this Rooster side will just try the old, the boa constrictor and just try and snuff this attack out of the Sea Eagles. I feel that, but I'm going to go the Roosters. I think Dom Young coming into that back line now, it'll be interesting. No Jason Saab. Tommy Talau makes his debut, and we all know what's happened with Spencer Lanu, Marty, but there's a bloke called Jared Warrior-Hargrave.
He's back.
And he plays his 299th game today. Not a bad bloke, you can say, in you come. And the other bloke's a bloke called Angus Crichton, who was not so long ago was part of the Kangaroos World Cup winning side. So, mate, it's going to be a good game of footy. I'm not sure how many points, but I don't mind the Roosters at the line, which is -2.5.
They've been well back, Roosters. They've been backed in from about $1.75 into $1.65. Now, the Dolphins disappointing last week. They're at 2.02. St George have been backed to beat them today. St George, so good last week, $1.79. Another one of your teams. It's 1.5 and the total points 45.5.
Mate, you knew I wasn't a fan of the Titans, and I'm, that's okay. Dragons put a fair few points on them, so I can't spruik the Dragons at the moment, but a lot of pressure on the Dolphins. They play out at KO Stadium, which is obviously where they train in Redcliffe, and mate, he's made some changes early. He's put Sullivan onto the bench, young Couture. He'll play in the halves, so yeah, they were disappointing last week, the Dolphins, and the Cowboys really did, ran some points in early in that match. Mate, the concern for me is that ageing pack. And what you've got, though, what I really did like about the Dragons, Marty, last week, they looked fit and they were fast. And that's the big key, isn't it? And you look, Luciano Leilua, he plays his first game for the Dragons. He'll come off the bench. Mate, he's a good impact player. So I think the Dragons might have too many points in them. And I think we'll see some points. I think they'll let the ball talk. But I think the Dragons at the line, which is, I don't mind that, -1.5. Pretty happy with that. So we're going to have a little bet today, Marty.
Yes,
how about
our little Sunday St Patrick's Day multi. Let's have it.
I tell you what, aren't the Irish fans up and about just talking about the other code? They've won the Six Nations this morning, beating Scotland. Imagine every pub in Ireland at the moment.
Well, it'll carry on to here.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Yep. I know that a mate of mine manages a pub in Sydney. They opened up early for the game. Ooh. Oh, what a day at Hillsdale. Fair dinkum. So we go the Roosters at the line, -2.5.
Yep.
The Dragons at the line, -1.5, $3.65. Nice little play, that. And let's go the Roosters, Joey Marnie, to score.
Yep.
Anytime. Into the Dragons, Tyrell Sloan. He was good last week. He'll pop up. $7.20.
7.20. Okay.
Yep.
So we've got Roosters, give the start there 2.5. Dragons, give it at 1.5 and put them into a double. And then any time...
$3.65.
Yeah, $3.60. And then any time scorers at Manu and Sloan, 7.20.
Yep.
Beautifully done. We'll listen in on Thursday, talk again on Drive on next Friday and do it again next Sunday. All the best, Sal.
Absolutely, mate. Let's finish them off with 2 Bobby Dazzlers this afternoon. Stay safe, everyone.
All his troubles away. All the noise and the rout, filling punching and stout. For him soon and done.
Oh, yes, that Retro Vision text line is up and running. Get them in. Anything you want to talk about, racing, pacing, chasing or sport? Jim Pommy Pie. Morning, boys. I have a dusty hangover, but it's nowhere near the premiership hangover at Collingwood. I'll be good for work Monday. Will the Pies be back next week? Well, they play St Kilda next week. It's no given. And we really want to talk about Collingwood with Brad Hardie after 7 o'clock because I'm with you. They are suffering a mammoth premiership hangover. Well, time to welcome along Simon. Hang on. Welcome Simon Hill. Hello, Simon. A very good morning. Welcome to you and happy St Patrick's Day.
Morning to you. How are you?
I'm all right. You well?
Very good, thank you. Yeah.
I'm not that well after Burnley 2 beat Brentford 1 after an early red card.
Yeah, I don't quite know what's gone wrong with Brentford, to be honest. They've had a horrible run. Injuries haven't helped, and obviously we know that Ivan Toney was out for a long time with that suspension because of illegal betting. But he's back, and they just keep making silly mistakes, the latest of which was Sergio Reguilon, who was sent off after only 8 minutes in their 2-1 loss to Burnley overnight. VAR are judging him to have committed a professional foul on Vitinho at Burnley. Jakob Brun-Larsen put the Clarets ahead from the penalty spots. And then Brentford, of course, got to play 82 minutes a man short. David Fofana adding a second for Burnley. Christopher Ayer got one back. But that's now 14 defeats in 18 matches for the Bees. And they're starting to slip towards that bottom 3. I don't think they'll go down. I think they're too good to finish in the bottom 3. But it's a big win for Burnley. They're still at 8 points adrift of safety, but it's a bit of a lifeline. And Brentford have got to try and sort that out because they've had a great first season in the Premier League, but this season has been a real struggle for them.
Okay, it was a 1-1 draw with Luton scoring late against Notts Forest. 1-1.
Yeah, this was a real relegation six-pointer. Forest seemingly on track for 3 very important points after Chris Wood had scored in the first half. But Luton got a last-gasp equaliser, Luke Berry, with just a minute of normal time to go. And that result keeps the gap between the two at 3 points. Luton are in 18th, which is the final relegation spot. Nottingham Forest in 17th. Of course, the big match for Nottingham Forest coming up this week is with the courts. They're going to learn their fate on Monday for breaking the rules, financial rules. So it could well be that those positions will be reversed on the ladder. We're going to see a bit of this, unfortunately, I think, in the final few weeks of the season, because there are a couple of clubs who are facing financial penalties, Everton being another one. They've been punished once, of course, already this season. So that bottom 3 could well change a little bit by Tuesday morning.
Simon, why has this happened? Have they changed the way they, scour the rules, or why has it taken place that there's, 3 or 4 that are under pressure?
Well, look, the rules that were brought in say that you can only lose, only in inverted commas, $105 million over a 3-season period. Now, Forest, to be honest, I don't know what rules they've broken. I don't think that's been publicised in the media. Everton were over that financial barrier. They initially got hit, you might remember, with a 10 points deduction. They appealed that, and it's been reduced to 6, so they're outside the bottom 3 at the moment. But they've got another charge coming up. And Forest, as I say, going to learn their fate on Monday. Personally, I don't like on-field performance being decided by off-field decisions. I think I know you've got to stick by the rules, particularly if you've agreed to abide by them, but one of the issues for Forest is that you're allowed to lose $105 million over 3 years if you're in the Premier League over that 3-year period. But for one of those years, Forest were in the Championship, which means that they can only lose $61 million, which to me seems a bit of a nonsense and an uneven playing field for newly promoted clubs. But it's a bit of a mess at the moment. And I think the Premier League is coming down hard and close because it doesn't want an independent regulator. It doesn't want the government sticking its nose in its business. Personally, I think it's long overdue, and I think it's time it happened.
Well, what about this result at Craven Cottage? Fulham 3, Spurs 0.
Yeah, a bit of a surprise, this one. Tottenham had a big chance to move into the top 4 ahead of Aston Villa, who are not in action in their game until later on today. And, of course, they beat Villa by 4-0 last week. A terrific performance to really give them the whip hand in the race for that 4th spot. But they were just not at the races from the first whistle against Fulham. Rodrigo Muniz scoring twice. He's going well at the moment, the Brazilian for Fulham. Sasha Lukic adding a 3rd. Maybe the problem was the absence of Mickey van der Ven, who's so important for them defensively. He was out with an injury. Last time he was missing, Spurs went on a 4-game winless run. So that result gives Aston Villa the initiative with 10 games to go. They're a couple of points clear, and Spurs have wasted their game in hand. Well, Aston Villa played today, but that advantage that Spurs had has gone.
Okay, now 2 quarter-final results in the FA Cup. Wolves 2, Coventry City 3, and then Man City 2, Newcastle 0.
Yeah, let's deal with the Wolves-Coventry game because this was a big upset. This was at the home of Molineux. Wolves, of course, in the Premier League, a good Premier League team as well. Coventry in the Championship, a league below, but some late drama at Molineux. Ellis Sims was the Coventry hero, scoring twice and then teeing up a dramatic 100th minute winner for Hardie Wright, just as it seemed as though we were going to go into extra time. Wolves were 2-1 up. Ellis Sims had given Coventry a 53rd minute lead. Wolves hit back, Rayat Aid-Nouri and substitute Hugo Bueno, and they seemed set for the semis. But Sims equalised in the 97th minute and then teed up Wright 3 minutes later for that dramatic winner. So Coventry into the semi-finals For the first time since they won the Cup back in 1987. It's a game I remember well against Tottenham. They won by 3-2. The only slight cloud was that their manager, Mark Robbins, could be in a spot of bother. He had to apologise to a ball boy afterwards, a ball boy that had irritated him by not throwing the ball back. And when Coventry scored the winner, he got right up in his grill. So he might face a fine for that. But a great day for Coventry. And, they've been through a lot over the last 15, 20 years, relegations, and they've had issues with their ground. But they're on the way back and they're in the semis. The other game, rather more straightforward. Man City 2, Newcastle 0. Bernardo Silva with both in the first half. City now the first team in history to reach the last four for 6 consecutive seasons. They're 22 matches unbeaten. Newcastle barely able to lay a glove on City, and the double treble remains on for the moment.
Okay, just rattle through a few of these games. Time's ticking away. West Ham v Aston Villa, 270, 365 and 245 for Villa. And that will do us. Yes, that's the only game we've got to look at.
Yeah, there's a couple of Cup quarterfinals tonight as well. Chelsea, Leicester, and the big one, Manchester United against Liverpool. But that Premier League game, it's a reduced Premier League fixture list this weekend because of the FA Cup. And again, as I mentioned, it's a chance for Villa to put more pressure on Tottenham. Again, they can go 5 points clear, albeit having played a game more. It's a tough one, this, though. West Ham unbeaten in the last 8 home meetings against Villa, 4 wins, 4 draws. And Villa have got a couple of selection issues. Ollie Watkins is an injury doubt. Diego Carlos will be missing. John McGinn suspended. And they played in midweek in the Conference League against Ajax. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a draw today at London Stadium. OK,
A-League yesterday. 3 matches are all 2-1. Let's start with Perth Glory. Late goal there to the Wanderers to beat the Glory 2-1. Phoenix 2 against Sydney FC 1. And Macarthur 2 against Brisbane Roar 1.
Yeah, let's start with Perth. This is a big blow to Glory's finals hopes. I can't see them making the top 6 on the back of this result, and they certainly had the chance to win this game against a Wanderers team who were, probably there for the taking, given that they lost 7-0, a record defeat during the week at the hands of Melbourne City, and a couple of key departures in the backroom staff during the week on the back of that. They managed to get level through Adam Taggart right on the stroke of half-time after Brandon Borello had given the Wanderers the lead. But despite all the huff and puff in the second half, and they had some great opportunities, it was the Wanderers who came away with a win thanks to Lachlan Brook and the VAR check to make sure that Marcus Antonsen was offside. So Perth go to Melbourne victory on the 31st of March. Basically, I reckon they've got to win probably 5 of their last 6 to give themselves any hope. And I can't see it, to be brutally honest. The other games, Brisbane Roar 1, Macarthur 2. This game played at Ballymore because Suncorp's unavailable. They're preparing it for a Pink concert. We've really got to do something about the grounds, particularly in Queensland. Macarthur winning that one thanks to Raphael and Tomislav Uskok after Florent Berenguer giving Brisbane the lead. And the game in Auckland, which of course is going to be home to a new A-League club next year, Auckland FC, that was announced, the name that is, this week. But Wellington Phoenix back to the top of the league, beating Sydney 2-1, an own goal from Hayden Matthews, and then Costa Barbarousas' 11th of the season against one of his former clubs after Robbie Mack had given Sydney the lead. And a good stat that augurs well for the new club, 18,000 were present in Auckland. So hopefully most of those will come back next season.
Great crowd. Simon, you've been great as always. The Global Game, it's a great podcast that you star in. So if you want to hear more of Simon Hill, find The Global Game. It's an SEN podcast. Thanks for coming on the program today.
Thanks, mate. Have a great week.
Blah, blah, blah. Let Marty Young and David Shortte do all the talking on The Aftermath. Sunday morning at his best on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
Marty Young's here. Hello.
Oh, good morning, Marty. I am full of apologies this morning. I'm so sorry.
Or a bottle of vodka, you know that.
I'm okay with a bottle of vodka. We'll square up there. I'll find out what Soph needs for a drink and we'll square up. Apologies and good morning to the listeners. It was very simple. If the alarm was on, I slept straight through it this morning, so I do apologise profusely. Big night out there at Cannington last night, Marty. It was enormous. The biggest crowd since they've opened the new track out there, and gee, the racing was good. Of course, we love Tommy Shelby and what he did on the track, but it's more the deeds now that he's doing off the track that are coming to the fore. For him to sire the Group 1 Galaxy winner over the longer distance and the Group 1 Perth Cup winner over the shorter distance on the same night is a huge achievement, and it was a very special night, obviously, for Steve and Kira Withers there last night and their family.
Their special guest after about 7:45, I think we'll have Steve Withers on the program. It is 20 minutes away from 7 o'clock. What about this for Group 1 action?
For another Group 1 success, revved up. Tropical Squall at the 300 from Revolutionary Mizu. Gotcha's out now, closing off. Then came Kamachi. Samana winding up on the outside. Tropical Squall shows the way from Zoo Gotcha. Wide out is Samana running home hard. And Samana moved up with Zoo Gotcha. They're wide apart. Zoo Gotcha near the inside of Samana. Zoo Gotcha got the Coolmore. Zoo Gotcha went at a neck to Samana and close up.
Yeah, massive win there for Zoo Gotcha. Carries the penalties and still beats the mares in the Coolmore Classic and the fillies as well. Chris Nelson joins us to talk about it. Hi, Chris.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Shorty. And admiration for you, Shorty. You put your hand up there. You haven't blamed technology or anything. So full marks to you.
It's very, very embarrassing, Chris. I've been doing Brekkie radio for many, many years, and it's my bad. Sometimes you just got to put your hand up and say, might well have had just a little bit too much on the plate. So that's okay. We punch on, and we look forward to recapping what was an excellent day. Hey, before we get into these results, I know you were pretty busy yesterday on course, weren't you, there at Eagle Farm, running a punters club or something along those lines? How did that all go, Chris? That's something that's is another string to your bow. There's not much you can't do.
Oh, well, it's only a one-off. It was a charity day for Mark Tubby Taylor's charity foundation sporting chance at Eagle Farm. So we did have a few wins on the day, which was good. So all of it went to charity. So everyone concerned there enjoyed the day. Good turnout. Yeah, it was fun. A lot of fun, Shorty.
Excellent. Well, let's get on to this win of Zoo Gotcha. We just heard the replay there with Darren Flindell, James McDonald steering this horse to victory. Samana was right there. Kamachi not too far away.
Yeah, there wasn't much between them. There was 0.65 of a length, 5 of them across the line, going right through to 5th with Hinged. 90th Group 1 for J-Mac. 157th Group 1 for Chris Waller. Yeah, she's come back in great order, hasn't she? They tried her as a sprinter last prep, didn't work out, so they've gone the other path this time in, and she was beautifully placed by J-Mac. 3 back to fence. She was on the scene quickly in the straight, and she couldn't quite get away from them, but she dug deep. I thought Samana probably headed her at about the 200-metre mark, but she fought on well, didn't she? Gotcha, and she was too strong.
Chance to go in the Donny?
Probably. You have to think so on that. Yeah, I would think so. With that last winner, the second last winner, Democracy Manifest, I think they'd both be pushing on. I thought Kamachi was good, Marty. Sat wide, no cover the entire trip, and Tropical Squall boxed on pretty well. But, all honours with the winner, I think, there, guys.
Well, wasn't this the omen tip in the Pago Stakes, Dublin down? Being St Patrick's Day today, the Irish would have been on this at the big odds.
Yeah, they would have been, and Dublin down just went straight to the front. Wasn't it for catching? Look, these two-year-old races yesterday, the Pago and the Magic Knight, were both sort of sprints, and the leaders won both. Dublin down held off a Node, who sat second. Coleman ran on quite well late. Gatsby's, you have to say, was disappointing. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of hype around Gatsby's. It was heavily backed, had a nice run just off speed, but I thought was very one-pace in the straight. So Dublin down will now go to the Golden Slipper. Apologies for the noise in the background, guys. It's bucketing down here.
Wow, okay. It's something we haven't seen too much of over here in the West. And you mentioned the other 2-year-old fillies race drifting for Tom Sherry, defeating Fly and Chateau Miraval in the race prior.
Yeah, and the Melbourne form, I didn't mention, with Dublin down and drifting both winning, that was Melbourne 2-year-old form that's come to the fore. I think a lot of us had dismissed that Victorian form, but not the case. So these two go to the slipper. Drifting pushed on, sat outside the leader, Valor Bing. was a good win. Fly looked as though probably going to run drifting down about the 200-metre mark and then peaked on the run, but I think the tempo probably aided drifting as well. So Fly was good. Back in the field, very wide on the home turn, did make the good ground into second. Castagna missed the kick, wasn't beaten far, but that was the end of his chances, unfortunately.
What about the Group 3 Sky High Stakes? It was Lindemann, looked particularly well placed in this grade of race yesterday. J-Mac on and delivered for the punters at the odds-on quote.
Well, if you were brave enough, Shorty, to take Lindemann, not take on Lindemann, to back Lindemann while you're pretty on good terms with yourself pretty much from the outset. He travelled beautifully in the run. He just looked so well placed in this race coming out of those two group races. The Fangirl race last time out. I mean, he had to win this, and he did, just bolting all the way, beat an average field. Colour ran second, just fine. Obviously, he hasn't come up this prep. That's two very poor runs. He led Lindemann and just didn't finish off at all, was beaten almost 10 lengths.
Red Card was given a beautiful ride by Hieronymus to win the McCartan Stakes.
Yeah, they zipped home here, Marty, 33.97. Red Card was in front from the outset and was never going to get run down. Always travelled beautifully. I thought Libertad was good late. Airman was an interesting run. Now, he was a real drifter. Leading into this race, he got out to $5 officially. Now, he was in the $3 range probably half an hour before the race jumped. So the market didn't like him. He'd only had the one trial. Maybe he was a bit underdone, but I think he'll improve sharply off that. The others, look, probably can't say much about them. I think Airman's the improver, and I think Red Card's flying this prep. So not sure where they go with Red Card. Apparently not the Galaxy next week.
Okay, on to the Group 2 Far Lap Stakes over the 1,500 metres. Chris, and it was the Oaks winner here, Zardozi. Gee, I was kicking myself post-race. The return run wasn't terrible. Second up card okay, and a very, very talented type is Zardozi. She returned in good order, and Tommy Marquand, geez, he's a good rider, Tommy. He gets along well with a lot of these horses, and got Zardozi home at a very nice price there yesterday.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there, Shorty. The first up run was okay, but then if you drill down, there wasn't a lot of tempo in that race, so she probably couldn't do a lot, and she was quite okay. But I thought most of us probably under the impression she'd take another run. But, gee, she was ridden beautifully. You're right there by Tom Marquand. And back in the field, but then by the time they got to the home turn, she was within 3 lengths, and she was travelling beautifully. You knew she'd finish off really well, and she brought away from them late. She won by almost 2 lengths. So she goes on to the Vinery and the Oaks, where she'll take on this New Zealand filly, Orchestral, who we can't wait to see. That's going to be one hell of a clash with those two fillies. So looking forward to that race. Tannhauser, not one that is easy to catch, but did make some nice ground into 6th spot. Might be worth keeping an eye on. Saltcoats was very disappointing, and no obvious excuses there.
In race number 9, the Ajax Stakes, it was a good win. Democracy Manifest for Waller and McDonald again.
Yeah, this was a race where the backmarkers prevailed. Democracy Manifest was second last. Territory Express ran second, was third last. Had a little bit of trouble getting a run in the straight. Territory Express, clear at the 150. I thought had every chance to probably beat Democracy Manifest. There wasn't much between them on the line, but you could have gone either way. And I think Territory Express goes to one of those provincial races coming up in a couple of weeks. It'll be a good bet there, you'd think. Bold Mac ran on. Robusto, I think I have to sack Robusto, guys. He had every possible chance yesterday, just camped behind the leaders and may have hit the front too soon, but I'm running out of excuses for him.
All right. Black Bookers and anything to throw into the Black Book out of Eagle Farm yesterday, Chris?
I think Airman's a definite Black Booker, Shorty, and I'm going to follow Zardozi. I might be able to take on the New Zealand filly and knock her over, so we'll see how Zardozi goes. But they're the two out of Rose Hill. Eagle Farm, we had some smart ones go around. Can't recall one. Looks very good in race 1. Goes on to a winter carnival campaign. And a couple heading towards the Queensland Guineas, Transatlantic and Presley. All very, very impressive.
Beautifully done, Chris. Appreciate your time as always here on The Aftermath. Have a wonderful Sunday upcoming. Try and stay dry.
I'll do my best. It's only a passing shower, Shorty.
Good on you, Chris.
CAB Radio.
Coming up towards the corner at the 400 metres. 2 lengths in front. From in second place, Buffalo River in its slipstream. 4 lengths away, Holy Man's, and then came Attractable Pinstripe. Mr. Brightside brought to the outside. 7 or 8 off Pride of Jenny, who still paddles in front, but we know she keeps going at the 200. Pride of Jenny. 3 lengths, Buffalo River. Now Mr. Brightside and Cascadian coming, but it's still Pride of Jenny. 100 to go. There's no stopping her. What a performance. Pride of Jenny wins by 2 lengths, Mr. Brightside, Cascadian.
You could say that was a popular win, and we welcome along Racetrack Ralphy to talk about it. Good morning.
Good morning, boys. It was absolutely wonderful. And, well, if you're not old enough to remember Vo Rogan, you wonder why those of us who are held it with such affection, just watch yesterday, because that was exactly what he used to do, and she's doing it now, and it's just marvellous for racing as well as the backstory on top of it.
Indeed. And Ralphie, she's just come back in splendid form. The winner of the Cantala, beaten narrowly by Mr. Brightside when they last met in the orbit. Yesterday, Declan Bates took hold of this race, took charge, said, well, I'm going to be the one that's dictating and dominating this race. You have to run out of your skin to run me down. And as it turned out, as good as Mr. Brightside is, there's limits to how far back you can be behind really good horses and run them down.
Yeah, and look, it's such an interesting discussion point. Now I've got the real clarity from Vince Agardi's data through. Well, I've got partial clarity because I want to put this to you. So her first 800 metres was 12.3 lengths above benchmark, and what's Vince based this on? 999 races. So I reckon that's over 30 years. So that's the first 800 metres. That is flying anyway. But let me put this to you: that the next race. So I know they're average horses, but it was a big field. And big fields create pressure anywhere in the world, right? So, and they were hiking. They were 3.2 lengths below benchmark. And look at the whole profile of the day. There was definitely hoses out. That's why the jockeys wanted to avoid the rails. And the track was affected. This might have been the fastest mile we've ever seen at Caulfield, if you adjust for conditions. So she has some genuine freak about her, this horse. And Shortte, as you said, he was too far back. But I can't emphasise this enough. There was nothing Craig Williams could have done on Mr. Brightside. If he went forward, he might have missed a place. That's how fast she was going. He rode that horse, and I've checked his whole profile. That was the fastest this horse has ever gone, Mr. Brightside. So this is facts. So you can, we all discuss opinions from there, but the facts are, on benchmarking, this is the fastest Mr. Brightside has ever gone, but he was 8 legs off her. So she is just a machine. It was this weekend last year where she was narrowly beaten in a three-way photo in the Coolmore, where we first saw, hang on, what's this? And this was, she first really put her hand up, or hoof up, and then she went on with it in the spring, as you said. But, yesterday, that's just a whole new level.
She went on with it, but you go back, it has been a massive turnaround because we all remember her in that stock stakes when everyone in WA is watching Amelia's Jewel and Deny Knowledge, and the format of that is massive because Deny Knowledge went on as well. She then goes to the Toorak, runs 6 to attrition in a pretty good Toorak, and then from there she's just gone Empire Rose, Cantala, second in an Ore, wins an All-Star Mile.
100%. And look, and this is where opinions do come into it, because then you have to adjust for track averages. And there was a school that thought that Moonee Valley meeting, and it was on very firm ground, but you couldn't trust how fast they were going. Well, I reckon you can trust it now, and that was a genuine figure. How are they going to beat Amelia's Jewel of the Cocker, by the way? Just a side note. But yeah, it was, as you said, it was genuine. Everything screamed that in the Toorak she was flat. Now, we mentioned Declan Bates, and let's underline, of course, he's riding her perfectly to suit her profile of being fast early and gassing out the opposition. But Kieran Maher, I mean, what a decision to not run her in the futurity after the Ore. And you mentioned that Moonee Valley run. Well, she was flat in the Toorak. That was 13 days later. This time, give her 5 weeks between runs. Mm-hmm. She came here with the mouth guard in, nice and fresh. No flatness from any futurity run. Mr. Brightside wins that, and she just brings her absolute A-game. So it was just phenomenal from a jockey and trainer perspective as far as placement, choosing to go second up, and then exploding with that type of speed.
unbelievable run the camp are having at the moment. Dave Eustace gone up to Hong Kong, and many thought, this might just put a little pause on proceedings. No. It's almost like he's got the button next to it, fast forward, not pause. It's gone, he's just flying. Unbelievable
Must be good
operator.
in Hong Kong, Shorty.
Oh, you're not joking there, Ralphie. Let's quickly zip through the rest of the card. Gear Up was the winner of the first there, the listed affair, the Gold Cup.
Yeah, and we will zip through it because it was all about the All-Star Mile yesterday. Look, he showed a little glimpse last start and he went on with it. So he's $21, but at least he showed a glimpse. He was an importer, had shown nothing, and then at least he showed a bit and went on with it yesterday. It was a very soft tempo, as I said, with the hoses out early, which suited Mancaine, by the way, so he loves the wet ground. Probably didn't suit Carini as much, so I wouldn't be surprised if he rebounds and, avoiding an Australian Cup, for instance. He's probably got maybe Mornington Cup might be his go.
Ralphie, 3.5 minutes. What about you pick the races you want to talk about, particularly race number 9? I want to talk to you about that, the Country Mile.
I've got a feeling I know why. Well, look, First Immortal was a good return from that race. Shayar, impossible position. This is a horse. Flemington 2000, obviously not the Australian Cup, but if Flemington 2000 be absolutely perfect for it. Bold Bastille, good early speed, bit of a mid-race slowdown. Again, Mark Zara, thinking jockey, didn't hug the rails on a leader. I think he was the first leader to not hug the rails. She was good, but, whether she's got an elite race in her, only time will tell. Waltz on by, I've put a big circle around this for our listeners couple of weeks back, boys, and this was a fun watch. And again, by this stage, you wanted to be off the rails, and she was able to really work through her gears. She will win again, Waltz on by, so you can stick fat with her. And then later in the program there, I'll skip that and let you ask me about. But in that last race, Broodnell was a nice fun watch for the quaddie, and Mahaba and Bankmore are the ones, though, from a Black Book perspective, they're going to keep improving. Bankmore just needs further.
Yeah, the Country Mile. Look, there's been a lot of criticism of Bo Merton's ride in the straight, but it was earlier on in the piece. He should have popped out 3D, but he then keeps Titan of Choice out 4 wide for the whole race. And once he decided to stay in, you're always a bit of a victim, particularly with 60 kilos. And I know there are a lot of punters quite disgruntled with the ride, and I agree.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, if you look at Damien Lane, who's just elite anyway, but he's completely in the zone at the moment. He's not afraid to cover ground. And I would say extra on a day like yesterday when, as you said, Titan of Choice wins the race covering ground. So there was no reason to be paranoid about covering a bit of ground because you didn't want to be next to the rails anyway. So that's step one. I had a real good look at the home turn, including the steward's vision. I'm not sure how much he was desperate to get off the fence or whether he couldn't. There was a bit, I'm not sure, either way, but he clearly should have won. At least now the horse can take another level forward. That's not going to help you if you backed him yesterday. But, I think he's going to be they're going to have a lot of fun with this horse. He's one of the lightly raced horses. Yeah, well, he's one of the lightly raced ones in this race full of very exposed types. So, he's got a bit to offer going forward for sure.
Ralphie, horses to follow quickly. Then I want to talk to you about this game today because it has got everyone guessing Melbourne v Western Bulldogs.
Yeah, well, I'll underline Shayar, and it's a bit of a hidden one. Waltz on by is an obvious, and in that last race, I think Mahaba's ready to win a nice sort of off-season sprint as well.
The match?
Yeah, I'm nervous. I'm not dismissing it, but I'm nervous only because I think the doggies have really got their ducks in a row at the moment. So it could be a case that we'll play well and still not win. So hopefully we play at absolute best and do win. But I'm a little bit nervous. Should be a great game. And interviewing Michael Hibbard, so I'm looking forward to catching up with him too.
Ralphie, you absolutely star at these big days over there. Yesterday was just a super day of racing. I've really enjoyed our catch-up this morning going through horses to follow on the All-Star Mile itself. Enjoy the big game of footy upcoming there. We know that you'll be front and square there at a lot of the coterie functions. Keep that brown paper bag in action. Great, man. We wish you all the very best.
Good on you, boys. Always good fun.
Racetrack Ralphie at racetrackralphie.com.au.
On The Aftermath, it's time to introduce the 1985 Brownlow medalist from the Footscray Football Club, Brad Hardie. Introducing the boy from Hilton, the AFL guru, Brad Hardie.
Yeah, good morning, Bustler.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Shortte. Well, I could probably give you a 14-leg running second, multi Shortte, for a place.
Oh, dear.
Dearie me. If anybody's got a spare bee's diaphragm out there, I'd love to have hold of it, I'll tell you.
Well, let's concentrate on the footy, Bradley, and a lot of texters. We've got about 4 or 5, and they're espousing that the Collingwood Magpies are suffering from a premiership hangover. What are your thoughts after they went down to Sydney on Friday night, 102-69?
Yeah, it's on the way. It's on the way there. Look, the next Thursday night's critical for them, isn't it? You know, I've been less than impressed with what Collingwood have dished up in the 2 games thus far. They'll be very, very dirty. And I think it's more their senior-type players that need to sit up and take notice here. I mean, they're really letting the team down. I mean, Ash Johnson's going to be out of the team this week. We know that. You know, but people like the indifferent performances of blokes like Sidebottom, Pendlebury the first week. Again, the other night, he got his numbers, but just not in the right areas, Shorty, that's for sure. They just don't seem to have the hunger there at the moment. They're getting out-hunted. And we spoke about sliding door moments. Well, at the moment, they're not even in the they're not even in the doorway, let alone having a sliding door moment. So they've got a fair bit of work to do. And McRae, you know, look, all I'm saying is it's just we have to wait a week more, because I think that last year you saw how the Bulldogs had a shocking start 0-2 and were able to regather and miss the finals in the end. But, yeah, I don't think it's side that's won the premiership and lost their first 2 have gone on to go back-to-back. So at the moment, it's a long, long way off. About as far off as Craig Williams was on Mr. Brightside yesterday at one stage.
So I'll name a few. Sidebottom, Markov, Darcy Moore, Howe, Pendlebury.
Yeah. Well, look, Darcy Moore's worried me for a while, and I've been in the minority there. Yep. I've been in the without Murphy, he's a lost soul. He doesn't know when to stay. He doesn't know when to go. When he does go, how many times did Logan McDonald get over the back the other night, Shorty? Unbelievable. You just can't be doing that. No, I agree with you. Howe, first game back, but yeah, they're going to have to push him forward, I think, because Mychek is blue collar. He is no world beater. We know that. So they need a bit of someone to straighten them up there. And I tell you what, Jamie Elliott's just going. There's a few of them that are just going, and I've got to say, it's the first time, you know, he's my mate's son, Josh Dacos, just nondescript the other night, you know, just and the amount of possessions and goals they get in junk time, Marty, and I think you've got a little stat there, is quite phenomenal.
It's an interesting one. They went 4-1 against GWS in junk time, and they've gone 3-1 against Sydney in junk time. That's 7-2 in junk time. Their percentage at the moment is 66. Had they not got those junk goals, they're at 50%. And
which is West Coast levels from last year.
Oh, that's a long way to come back from.
It is. Really surprising, Brad, too. Listening to a bit of talk back after the game there on Friday night, which I love because there's instant reaction and blow up from the fan base. But the one recurring thing that came out of it was, for a side that's had success for the last couple of seasons, where's the depth? Who are the players that are knocking the door down to come into this side and make them better right now?
What's your thoughts on young Dean? He's had 2 goes at it now. He looks a mile off.
He'll be out. Yeah. He'll be out, unfortunately. You know, as I said, I don't blame him. I mean, he's been out for a while. He's only come in, but he's been found wanting. There's a lot of them, but you're only as good as your support cast. And when your leaders, Shorty, are not performing either, and Nick Dacos, how good's he? I mean, he's just unbelievable. Brilliant. You know, we'd heard during the pre-season that he'd gotten better and fitter, and you thought, nah, surely not, you know. And that was the one thing, and I was speaking to Rodney Eade about this, and that was our little concern coming into the season. Could they get any better, Shorty? Because, you know, the adage is if you stay the same, you're effectively going backwards. Mm-hmm. Well, all the other teams are improving as well. They're not even up to what they were last year. That's their problem. So they've conclusively gone backwards in 2 games. So, yeah, they're like the boy with the barrow. They've got the job ahead of them. There's no doubt about that. And as I say, a few months in the life of a seasoned campaigner over 30, a Sidebottom, a Pendlebury, etc., a Howe.
Say it all the time.
Only a small set. You know, it slides past you and you don't even know it.
I'll give you another one. 1%ers. Against GWS, they were beaten 51-38. Against Sydney, 56-41. Now, that is the sign of if you're working hard, if you're doing those things that Collingwood pride themselves on. So they're a long way off in that department.
I was watching a program last night on Fox because you had to do that, if you wanted to watch both games, as I was doing, and because I can't cop the Channel 7 broadcast.
I know.
But they have those little panels in between, and
I was staggered. I mean, and this is, you can't afford to do this shit because, Lee Montagna, who's doing a pretty good job in his career, he just said, Chris Scott and Ross Lyon are the two best coaches in the competition by far. I mean, seriously? Wow. John Longmire is the best coach in the competition by far because he's lost a bit of his talent in Buddy. He doesn't have Parker. He doesn't have his captain in Mills. And what he's doing and what he continues to confound us all, they just keep doing it. And his ability in the run, Shorty, to make option taking, okay, they're starting to get on us. Let's go man on man. The other night, they were happy. They said, yep, Collingwood want to try and take the ball through the middle. We'll try and cover that as much as we possibly can, force a turnover, and didn't. They go whack the other way. He is the best coach in the competition, bar none.
And just as far as football clubs go, Sydney over the last 2 decades to remain relevant and not gut out and just keep finding young players deep in drafts to come in and fill their roles and get better year on year. It's remarkable, Brad. They've been a mighty football club.
Well, we shouldn't be surprised, Shorty, because remember North Melbourne made a huge bid for him a few years ago before they got Clarko and whatever. And we thought, maybe he needs a change. Maybe he needs a change out of the Swans. Maybe he's sort of maybe going to get to the bottom of the barrel shortly with the Sydney Swans. He said, no, I'm really happy with my list here, and it hasn't even pulled the right rein. 2 games old, but the week before their forward line was non-existent. Logan couldn't get near it. I think he got one. Marty couldn't catch one. Papley was okay without being great. But Heaney, they've been forced to push Heaney into the midfield, and this is about time. I mean, this bloke finally has outed himself. He's always had a good barometer on him in regards to, what a player he is. But, we had Callum Mills who was hiding on a half-back flank, and we had Heaney hiding on a half-forward flank. Now, Callum Mills has graduated from half-back into the midfield, not playing at the moment, rightly, but he'll be back. And now Heaney, by virtue of injury and suspension and all sorts of things, whatever's going on, finds himself in there. He's outed himself. He has to stay there now. He has to stay there because he's too good.
Do yourself a favour. I love watching the press conferences. Go and watch the Friday night press conferences. Watch Fly McRae first and then watch Longmire second, and then you'll go, wow, what a bit of difference between these two. I know one's coming off a loss and a win, but with Longmire you just feel safe and assured. He's got everything under control. And when he got pressed on, is Heaney going to stay in the midfield? He poses it back. He says, no, I sort of like him forward as well. He's an all-Australian half forward. So, exactly. And then he says, but it's a good problem to have.
But the thing for me is with Heaney is that, if he's in the midfield, there's a lot more variation.
Oh, yeah, I agree, 100%.
And he can still do the damage. I mean, you need good field kickers. You need good kickers of the ball in the midfield too. And he is a superb kick. There's no doubt about that. When he gets up onto high half forward, and there's no doubt he's a quality forward, but he's not in the game enough. And he can be shut down. Yep. Because if someone wants to sacrifice their game, they can do that. But in the midfield, they don't do that as much. There's no Shane Hurds. There's no Mick Gafers anymore, running around where they just say, well, I don't care if I don't get the ball as long as you don't. So, he's got to keep giving him that freedom. And I reckon Parker plays more forward when he comes back.
Well, what a nice player to have come back into the mix. Luke Parker rolling back in as well. They certainly had a good start to the season, the Swannies. Thursday night footy was a cracker. What about this? The Blues sneaking home by 5 points. Sometimes you just have to win ugly. The week before they came from a million miles back to run down Brisbane at the Gabba. They now have the week off next week, but they'd be on pretty good terms after winning their first couple of games. Got to give Richmond some credit out of this game, Brad. They were down 3 rotations in this match. They were disappointing in their round 0 game. They turned up to play, though, there on Thursday night, and they pushed Carlton right to the very last moment.
Yeah, fair play to Richmond. They were terrific. They had a crack. They're probably a little unlucky. That ball sits for Shea Bolton in the last few seconds. It would have been something different, but that's life. But you're right, Shorty. But that's my problem with Richmond is that I'm a bit concerned about their elderly. And even the champ himself, we know how good he is. This will be his last year at Richmond, is Dusty Martin. He wants to get out of Melbourne, but to have one disposal in the last quarter when the game was on, you can't be doing that. They've got to look to the champs. They want them. We know Nankervis will just play his heart out. But Prestia keeps getting hurt, Shorty. Yep. You know what I mean? And this is my worry for Geelong and Richmond. I just reckon they've got a profile of age that are just on the wrong side. They're just on the wrong side. And if one or two come and take it to the bank, it'll happen at Geelong as well. It'll be Dangerfield. It'll be Hawkins. It'll be, Mitchie Duncan or whatever, or it could be a Tui. yeah, that's when you're really going to find whether both of these clubs have got the depth. And at the moment, I think it's fair to say they don't.
Brad, the only way it works with these older players is if, like it did with Geelong a couple of years ago, when you get ahead of the game and you find yourself on top of the ladder or with a buffer to the third or fourth team, and wins don't matter late, and you can literally plan games off and resting your older players to make sure that you're minimising the workload on them. And unfortunately for Geelong and Richmond, it's unlikely that they're going to have that luxury. And so accordingly, you roll the dice. And unfortunately, it's just nature that as you get older, it's hard to stay fit for the whole season with all these guys that are 10 and 15 years younger than you running rings around you.
Well, but the problem for me is the build-up. I mean, they're hurting themselves early. I mean, I get it. I don't know. I know, yeah, I get that, the crash and bang ones, the knees and, ankles and shoulders and stuff like that, because that can happen at any time. But when guys are doing soft tissue injuries time after time, in the early stages of the season, Shorty, something's not right.
Okay, we go to Essendon Hawthorn yesterday. Don's too good for Hawthorn late, 107-83. Your thoughts on this match, Brad?
Well, Essendon, like North Melbourne, just kept kicking straight. Hawthorn just wasted so many opportunities, didn't they? So we weren't sure. The market makers generally get it right. It was almost each of two, Essendon slightly in front, but to their credit, they've come up again with injuries. Redmond's, that wasn't a good look. He might find himself in a bit of hot water on that one, given the...
Not after they let Hewitt off.
You wouldn't 5-10 on years ago, but you might now.
Hewitt's was worse.
It's just odd. Oh, I agree. I mean, they put themselves in a hole after that. The Lockie, Neal and Hewitt one. They absolutely confused everybody.
Well, if they nail Hewitt, then they can nail Redmond, can't they?
Yeah, exactly right. So, but it wouldn't put it beyond them, Marty. It wouldn't be the first time we've been confounded by the MRO or the tribunal.
Sure.
But so from that point of view, I mean, Essendon would just be happy to lock the 4 points away. And as I say, for Hawthorn, a few green shoots there, but the pressure's on Sam Mitchell a bit now because he's had his honeymoon period. We know he's gone through that little bit of a transition period, different styles of play to what Clarko used to have. Now they've got to start winning. I know they're down on personnel, but they've got to start winning a few games. They don't want to be cartwheeling out the back door in the first 6 or 7 games of the season.
Shorty, the betting on this game was crazy, wasn't it?
Unbelievable. 240 in the Hawks to the point where it was nearly each of two at one stage. I just kept looking at the AFL site looking for team news, and there was no team news that came through. I mean, most people knew if you looked through that Parrish wasn't going to be playing. That was the only sort of out of the ordinary selection decision that was there through the week, and it was like there were 4 or 5 players out. The way that this market sort of adjusted on the way through, but punters that were sticking fat were handsomely rewarded. $1.80 odd about Essendon in that game was, well, it was a balaclava job to be fair.
Well, let's be fair. I mean, Essendon, we weren't sure what they were going to dish up, but there were some real positives for them yesterday, and we've singled him out a few times. Stringer was terrific. I mean, he looks in better shape than he's ever been. I mean, he came up with 4 goals. Langford's a beauty. I mean, since he's moved forward, he's been terrific, and at least to have 2 metre Peter back out there, only a couple of goals, but he straightens them up, and he gives them something to go too long, and the little blokes and Perkins in the midfield. That was what you need. These blokes that were grafted a few years ago that we thought, Essendon have got a real good crop here, just lost their way over the last 18 months, 2 years. Well, a few of them might be on the way back. So, yeah, they might be more than nuisance value this year.
GWS too good for North Melbourne. I had a feeling they wouldn't cover the 48. I said that on straight up. But Josh, go to the young guys done an Achilles for North as well. So
horrible viewing, horrible scenes.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it remarkable how that happened? Because, there was... that's how it happens with Achilles.
Yep.
It feels as though someone's kicked you in the back of the leg, and you look around and say, there's no one there. What's happened there? But he wasn't as if he was electrifying off the mark. It wasn't Ben Johnson coming out of the blocks at the 100 metres at the Olympics. He just went to go, and bang, it just went on him. So really bad luck for the young boy. He ran into Jesse Hogan front on there a few minutes beforehand. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but look, they would have covered the line. There's no doubt about that. I mean, Clarko had a few green shoots as well, but they did get beat by 39 points. It could have been a hell of a lot more because in their scoreline, Shorty, at one stage, I think they were 17-18, and 17 of those points were off the boot, including Toby Green, who kicked 4. So if you just straighten up that by 4 or 5, that would have been a pretty hefty loss. But I didn't mind what I saw from them. They weren't as the sort of brutal as they were the week before with Collingwood. Jesse Hogan, that mix-up forward for them, Shorty's really, really good. You know, it was Riccardi's turn. He wasn't sort of there the week before. He ended up getting the go yesterday. You know, Brown kicked a few the week before, managed to come with a couple yesterday. The young draftee, he kicked a couple of... Yep, he's Cadman. He's going all right. Toby Green didn't have a great day, and Daniels kicked 4 the week before, didn't get amongst them. So, from my point of view, they'll be very, very pleased, and their back half is pretty strong, and we know what their midfield's like. And well done to Josh Kelly, 200 games. And you know how often we say, boys, you know, you don't have to have it 35 times, Josh. You know, have it 25 times and kick us a couple of goals, mate, and you're far better. And then Tom Green is just a beast, isn't he? You know, he just keeps knocking up, getting the footy. So,
yeah.
Well, it was $21 at pre-season. I did identify him. I've had something on him. I think that he's a super chance. And this is not new. He's been doing this, but he's gone to another level again. Bradley, he's such a big, strong man. But gee, gets his hands on the football and he hurts you when he does. A couple of things out of the game for me. I still think the Giants are the team to beat. 13 goals, 4 points North Melbourne is the key too for keeping this game looking respectable on the scoreboard. It's 36 scoring shots to 17. By rights, this margin should have been closer to 80 than the 40. The Giants dominated the game. There was some good little bit. North Melbourne have got some good young talent, but they're against the really top-end sides. They're going to struggle to grab a tow rope and keep hold with them. Let's move on to the next of these fixtures, Bradley. And last night, the Cats unveiling in front of a big crowd there last night at their new stadium. And great to see that visiting fans can now get a seat as well in Geelong. I think that was really good. You could hear a few of the Saints fans there last night. Geelong only won by 8 points, but anybody that watched this game would know that they did really control it. St Kilda came back late, but the Cats did enough and looked to have the game under control for the majority of it.
Yeah, when they kicked 4 goals out, they should have gone on with it. And that's the worry for me with Geelong. I'm just not sure where, you know, the killer instinct is still there amongst a lot of those senior type blokes down there. And you know, I thought that the young boys for St Kilda were pretty good. You know, Bradley Hill was good, and there was a few of them that were getting amongst it. So they'll be better for the run. But you're right, Shorty. I want to see more of St Kilda. I don't think I need to see too much more of Geelong. I think I've really pretty much made up my mind on them where they're at. But I thought St Kilda might slide this year, Marty, along with Melbourne, out of the 8, and I have no reason to change my mind just yet. But at least they stuck at it. Haven't won down there for a long, long time. And you're right. And Dangerfield, you know, hard to win down there. And Dangerfield stepped up at the right time to one take the mark and one go back and dob the goal. And that's the difference between inches can be the difference between winning and losing. So from that point of view, 4 points to Geelong, but jury's still well and truly out. 2
learnings from the punt out of this game was watching St Kilda. If you stick with them throughout the course of the season, under game total, are they going to be the side that are very good defensively again? Yep. And if you stick with St Kilda when they're outsiders in games with a head start, you're going to make money out of the Saints this year. They are a side that stick with you, even if you get out to a bit of a buffer, 3, 4, 5 goals. Ross finds a way to put the clamps on the other side. They work their way back into a contest and they make sure that they're within a few goals of your late to stay in a contest. He's been a great coach at doing that for a long period of time. And as punters, we're looking for things that can help us. They're 2 things I reckon we can work with for the remainder of the season out of what we've seen with the Saints.
Yeah, they were okay last night, King and Membry in particular, when he finished with 3. Good to see him back on the park and, you know, getting amongst it. But they've just got to find some more smaller type players who can, and midfielders, they get a bunch of midfielders who get a bunch of the ball but don't kick any goals. And we see that with other clubs that, you know, we talk about it all the time, Marty. If you can get your midfielders, you know, kicking somewhere between 4 and 6 goals a game, Shorty, it does help you go a long way. But at the moment, you're right. There's a ceiling for St Kilda at the moment. There's a ceiling of what they can actually score. They have to rely on holding the opposition and being close enough to try and pinch it at the end. So they've got to try and develop a little bit more forward prowess and a little bit more goals-kicking power right through from forward on.
Well, they averaged 77 and 72 last year, forward and defensive, and still made the 8. So if they could get some more goals, keep it at 72, then they're well and truly in the 8. The other game...
they'll be in front of the ledger.
Yep. The other game was Gold Coast Adelaide in the wet up there, and, you know, Adelaide steamed home when it was all over, but that was sparked by Soligo when he brought him onto the ground. I don't think Nix will be leaving Soligo off on the interchange bench again, would he?
Yeah, no, they were a bit too big there at one stage, and look, when you lose Tilthorpe, who, okay, contributes one and probably creates one a game, but Tex Walker going out, I mean, mind you, the conditions weren't great for the big men last night, was it? It became very, very slippery. So you need to get those low centre of gravity players out there, and Saligo fits that bill, and Rankin and Shelley got going late, as you say, Marty, but the horse had probably bolted. A bit of relief there for Damien Harbour because they had that game well and truly tied up and nearly found a way. They had a nap the week before for a quarter, Shorty, against Richmond, so he'll want to get on top of that, and they had a bit of a nap last night. And it got a bit closer than they would have liked, I would have thought, but at least they're 2-0. People will look back at the end of the season and say, well, doesn't matter. They got the 4 points and they'll keep going. So pretty good start for the Gold Coast Suns. Rao continues to do really well. And I think, and I really like a few of their blokes who look like they're just about ready to come into their own, Marty, as we weren't sure, but this will give them a stack of confidence, going forward, that they've got a couple of wins under their belt. And who's their next opponent, Shorty? I'm just trying to find it now. I think they play the Bulldogs. Don't they on Mars next weekend? So that's going to be a real test for them.
Yep, indeed. Off this planet, that'll be a beauty. Let's get into the Sunday action, Bradley. This game shapes up as... I can't wait for it. It's not too far away. It's only 2.5 hours away till bounce down for this one. The Demons $1.60, the Doggies at $2.35, line betting at 8.5, 166.5 total points. Couple of things I'm really looking forward to in this game. The debut of the Colonel, Riley Sanders, in the middle of the ground. Everything I'm hearing about this young man, Bradley, is that he will add some X factor to this Western Bulldogs midfield. Can't wait to seeing his debut today, and whether or not Melbourne can bounce back after what we saw there in their opening performance of the season. And will that fact that they've had a game and the Dogs haven't have any impact on this game today?
Well, you only have to speak to Sully and Marty. Sully from the NRL and Marty from the AFL. And Marty and I think, we're singing from the same hymn book. If you back the outsiders in the first month of footy or rugby, you'll finish in front. And I think there's a couple there today, the Dogs and Freo, who are the outsiders, and I think they're the ones to be on. I think because of the fact that they really had a terrific build-up with moving Grant aside, etc. Melbourne, they got pants last week by Sydney, I reckon. And, they want to bounce back, but their forward-line structure really worries me. But to even that up, Shorty, I'm still not overly... there's the nondescript names in the back half for a couple of debutants, Booker Karmas, who's played a bit of footy, but he's holding down one spot, Bramble's another one. They've changed it up a bit, but I spoke to the coach this morning. He's very pleased with their build-up. You can't do any more than that. They've got to get on that. They had a shocking start last year. And Melbourne, as we spoke there during the week, boys, that they're on a chance for the sucker punch. And the sucker punch, Collingwood got caught on because they thought, we lost last week. We'll be right. We'll win next week. No, you got two in a row. Bang. Melbourne are the other one, and, of course, Brisbane are the other one. Now, you just think everything's going okay and we'll bounce back, but sometimes you don't. And I think the Bulldogs, cherry ripe, going well. Melbourne, still a few question marks about them. Oliver, will he be flat today after last week getting up for the first game? Max Gawn worries me, Shorty, because I think I think Tim English can more than match him in that area. We know how good the midfield is with Liberatore and Bontempelli up against Petrarca and Oliver and co. Viney, who's a beauty, he just keeps working away. So this may not be the highest scoring game in town. But if Ugle-Hagan and Norton can get the opportunities, I think they will, from their midfield, and the back six for the Bulldogs can hold their own, I think they win. Okay, Port play West Coast. Line here is 48.5. A lot of conjecture about it, but I think it'll be going over that. Yeah, well, it'll be interesting. As I said, all I've seen from West Coast is damage control in the pre-season games, and what I mean by that, they're trying to ring around the stoppages, and they're trying to stop the ball from leaving the area, because they're not the ones that have got the ball leaving the area. It's the opposition, so they're very mindful of that. It's worked a couple of times. When we saw it in the Fremantle game, Shorty, where they were only a couple of goals down at half-time, but Fremantle could have blown them off the park in the second half. They're not fit enough. They've admitted to it finally. It's great to see some of the kids, Harley Reid and these blokes here, playing today, and see how they go. I hope they play them in the midfield, Shorty, because the midfield of Port Adelaide is really, really strong, Marty. They shouldn't have to worry about it. They won't worry about Kelly. They shouldn't have to worry about Harley Reid. We know Elliot Yeo's still getting his clay together, but he's another one that's a danger. Oscar Allen up the front can be very dangerous because he kicks a lot of goals in the bottom side. But good luck, McGovern and Barras down the other end, because I think that the ball's going to be forced in there way too much for them. So I think it could be close at half-time, punters. But I reckon in the second half, Port Adelaide just assert their ascendancy and run over them.
Yeah, I tend to agree there. And finally, Fremantle, 10-4 bounce down here. The Dockers have been well supported as the outsider into 225 now. Brisbane out to $1.65 from around 147, I think it was earlier in the week.
Yeah.
Obviously, Coleman last week going down, massive blow for Brisbane for that drive off halfback, and the news coming through that Lachie Neale won't get up for the game. There is a small opening here for Fremantle to be, at the very least, very competitive against last year's grand finalist Brisbane later today.
Well, I'd fair to say. I mean, yeah, that's why the market's trimmed up. There's no doubt Kitty Coleman's their best field kicker by far, and we know how good Lachie Neale is. So, yeah, and as we say, Marty, you don't worry about who you haven't got. But if you roll back 7 days, I mean, you know, Lachie Neale was out there, Kitty Coleman was out there until he got injured. You know, their first half was scintillating, wasn't it? You know, Brisbane, they were playing unbelievable the football we thought they were going to play, you know, but then they got reeled in by a very, very good Carlton fight back. So if Fremantle are ever going to beat Brisbane, it's got to be here today, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be here today. They wouldn't. If it was at the Gabba, I'd still be leaning to the Lions, but it's not. And they think they've really got it. I'm really pleased in one sense that Big Darcy's out, because that means Luke Jackson will play in the ruck. That's a chance for him to work over Oscar McInerney. I think they'll be okay. I just wonder, as long as they can get their forward line mix going, and the ball will be getting in there a fair bit, and they share it around and don't get a bit too Hollywood, they can pinch this Fremantle for sure, because Brisbane will give you up a fight. You know, there's no doubt about that. They're not a two-man team, but the two men that they have lost are very, very important to them.
Brad, we've got to get rocking and rolling here. Just a very quick one from Lisa Vellenbrook. I'll condense this. She's not happy with the coaching performance of John Riley, with the Wildcats going down, getting bundled out by the Jack Jumpers there on Wednesday night.
Yeah, well, you know, as we said, the support cast again for Cotton was the requirement. At times they stood up, but they weren't there when it mattered the other day. So they should have put the Jack Jumpers away in the game too, and they didn't. And now they can mull over it for the next few weeks going into next year.
Okay, Brad, for Retrovision and loans 1, 2, 3, we want your Sunday saviour.
Yeah, Grafton race 2, number 1, Blarney or Blagney, whichever way you want to say that, even money. So I think it'll be winning there. Go to race 6, number 6, Maximum Vortex. We love a Vortex, Shorty. $1.80, and Yarra Valley race 7 in the cup down there, number 8, Claim the Crown. $5. There's the value, boys. So race 2, number 1, Blarney at Grafton, $2. Race 6, number 6, Maximum Vortex, $1.80. And race 7, number 8 at Yarra Valley, Claim the Crown, $5. A cool $18 there, Shorty. That'll be well worthwhile. Get in there and see more. Get yourself a big flat screen TV. Don't forget the Noon Nut. He can help you out. 1-800-100-100. He can do things the banks can't. Boys, happy days.
Beautifully done. Enjoy St. Patrick's Day, Brad.
Sunday morning, we will do the talking on the Aftermath with Marty Young and David Shortte on Tab Radio Racing and Sports.
Corner at the 400 metres, 2 lengths in front. From in second place, Buffalo River in its slipstream. 4 lengths away, Holy Man's, and then came a tractable Pinstripe. Mr. Brightside brought to the outside, 7 or 8 off Pride of Jenny, who still paddles in front, but we know she keeps going at the 200. Pride of Jenny, 3 lengths Buffalo River. Now Mr. Brightside and Cascadian coming, but it's still Pride of Jenny. 100 to go. There's no stopping her. What a performance. Pride of Jenny wins by 2 lengths, Mr. Brightside Cascadian.
Oh, what a win. The man who rode Pride of Jenny is Declan Bates. He's on the Aftermath. A very good morning, Dec, and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Morning, guys. Yeah, thanks very much. So, good day for it now.
Yeah, I hope you're not riding today.
No, I actually have a day off today, but we are actually in the middle of moving house, so I am packing up stuff, which is not exactly what you want to be doing St. Patrick's Day when you have it off, but hopefully we can get that done and maybe fit in a pint of Guinness somewhere today.
I'm sure you're moving boxes, though, with a great big smile on your dial, Deck, because yesterday was a really special day for you and for Pride of Jenny. What a stunning performance. It was. It lived up to its name, the All-Star Mile. There are a lot of high-quality campaigners going around, none more so than Mr. Brightside, but it was all honours with Pride of Jenny yesterday. Just an outstanding performance. Talk us through the run. You look to be going along really at a good rate up front, and Racetrack Ralphy confirmed that when we spoke to him this morning off the clock, but she just kept on trucking.
Well, that's it, yeah. She's unbelievable how she can just maintain a gallop like that. I've never ridden a horse that can do that before, and I don't think I'll ever ride one like her again. But I was quite happy in the run. I think with her, that first 400 metres, as long as I just jump cleanly from the gates and get her out in bowling, but without sort of setting her alight initially, that's kind of my main concern. And so after sort of 400 metres, I was quite happy that we'd got there in a nice controlled manner. And after that, it's about she kind of does the rest, the way she can, but the way she can roll along at that tempo and just maintain it. It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. We were talking earlier on about this improvement in her form, and you go back almost 12 months to the day she ran second in the Coolmore Classic, which was on yesterday to Espiona, and again I brought up when she ran second to Amelia's Jewel in the Stock Stakes. But after that, Empire Rose, Cantala Stakes, just beaten in the Ore, and then wins the All-Star Mile. What has been this turnaround?
I can't pinpoint exactly, but mainly just maturity, I think, physically and mentally. She's obviously, in her younger days, she was quite the handful, and even now she's got that exuberant racing style, but she's actually quite relaxed pre-race and everything now. She does everything right, whereas in the past she was probably using a lot of energy before she even opened the barriers even open, and that was probably costing her, whereas now she does everything right at home, does everything right pre-race, so now she saves it all for the right time, and that's how we're seeing her sort of fulfill her potential now,
Declan, you seemingly have a great relationship with the horse. You've been able to rate Pride of Jenny particularly well against wonderful opposition over those last sort of handful of runs. Is there a lot of work goes into that relationship and spending time with Pride of Jenny away from race day so that, like you just said, you're relaxed and comfortable with each other? Do you spend much time with Pride of Jenny away from just race day itself so that you're both really comfortable when it comes to going out there on these big race days?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, she's got a great track rider in Sammy who just, I think she's been a big part in getting her to relax too. So she rides her most of the time at home. So there's really I don't want to be going interfering, to be honest. So it's a matter of letting her do her thing with her. She's done a great job. Obviously, if she's having a jump out or a gallop, I'll try and pop in for those strong hit outs. But apart from that, I really don't interfere too much. And it's just a matter of, I'm very lucky just to be on board at the right times. And, we seem to get on great together, so it's good.
And the camp, Kieran Ma right now, absolutely firing on all cylinders. It's not new. It's been going on for many years. But just the last 6 to 8 weeks, these big races have pretty much been just dominating proceedings. He's such a confident guy as well in regards to the staff that he has working for him, his riders. Tell us a little bit about your relationship with Kieran and what it's like riding for him right now as a dominant force in Australian racing.
Oh, look, it's great riding for him, and I think riding for Tony, the Jenny horses, has probably helped me get in the door with Kieran. I probably didn't have too many rides from until I started riding her, and obviously this helps, but he's great to ride for. He's just an elite trainer, but I love riding for him. You don't you go out to ride a big race for him, you don't feel put under pressure. He fills you with confidence in how the horse is going, and I always go out feeling like he has confidence in me, and that just helps you go out and ride a good race, So it's no surprise to see why he's doing so well. He just he ticks all the boxes in terms of preparing the horses. He's employed the right people, and that's why he's the force he is now.
Any talk around the track yesterday about where our next start's going to be?
Possibly Australian Cup, I believe, which is obviously going to be stepping out in trip, which will be interesting. But we'll see how she pulls up and use that to connections. But that's a possibility for sure, but nothing confirmed as of yet.
Declan, you enjoy your packing, get it over and done with, and then enjoy a few pints on St Patrick's Day, mate. You've certainly earned it after another brilliant win, this time in the All-Star Mile yesterday.
Will do. Thanks, guys.
Well done,
Declan Bates. Here's a beauty. We've got to get onto some of these back texters, and before that, there is a protest, and it's been upheld. Snoz had a 4-leg multi get up last week, place multi, and he's text through, so's gone back and checked it out, and sure enough, so Snoz, the winner.
Well done, Snoz.
Last week.
We'll get the $100 Tab Touch voucher out to you.
Now there's one here. Where is it, Shorty? It's about Port Adelaide. I expect them to be way too good for the West Coast Eagles today and cover the line. That is from Jim Apomipai.
Okay, good on you, Jim. I hope you're right. So we put out the Tab Touch special. I do one each week of the AFL season, Marty. Our first 2 legs have arrived. So our final leg was Port to win by 40 or more. If you're unsure and you're a bit of a hedge better, I think Port Adelaide under 39.5 is around that $2.70 mark now. You can effectively have a small bet there to get your money back or stake back if you're a conservative punter. Guarantee yourself a win, or you can just ride it out. I think they'll probably win by 40 or more. I think it was around $3.50. So fingers crossed, give them strength this afternoon. Let's hope we can get that over the line for our punters, Marty.
One here from Flemo. The Swannies were very impressive and very much looking forward to seeing the Dishlickers go at it today. The Dishlickers, of course, are the Bulldogs.
Doggies.
Good luck to Flemo. Steve Withers comes up next.
At Retrovision. Every Sunday morning, like a lullaby to a baby's ear, Marty Young and Brad Hardie entertaining you on the Aftermath on Tab Radio Racing and Sport.
One Sky Racing Perth Cup. The green light is on. The Tab Touch box is loaded. Trooper Tears the favourite in one, and they're set. Ready. Racing, Trooper Tears wanted to get up the track. He bumped heavily with Buddy Manelli and getting across. Sunset Frazier also coming across was Uncle Tommy. Uncle Tommy and Sunset Frazier go together. Out wider was Mapunga Shine, then followed by Transponder up on the inside. Trooper Tears, Mapunga Smoky in behind them as they go down the back straight. Sneaky Emoji, Transponder, and last of all off the back was Buddy Manelli. But as they start to swing, Sunset Frazier joined now by Uncle Tommy. In behind them was Mapunga Shine running on in the straight. Uncle Tommy, Mapunga Shine's coming. It's Tommy though. Uncle Tommy wins the cup. Second, Mapunga Shine. Third in was Mapunga Smoky.
Group 1 glory there, David, in the Sky Racing Perth Cup last night. It was Uncle Tommy from the Fairy Floss getting the money. Steve Withers joins us. A very good morning, Steve.
Wow, guys, that's wonderful listening.
Oh, would have been.
Oh, fair income.
Unbelievable, Steve. So you've had incredible success, of course, with the father of Uncle Tommy, Tommy Shelby, and this story's a great one because Tommy Shelby himself, unfortunately, wasn't able to win to a Perth Cup. He of course, took out many other feature finals around Australia, but he won a consolation for memory, but he had no luck in the Perth Cup and, of course, was away for an Easter egg another time when the Cup Series was on for memory, Steve. But now one of his sons comes out, Uncle Tommy, and wings, and as it turns out, you're training this particular greyhound. It's a really special moment, not just for Uncle Tommy the dog and yourself and the family obviously there last night and the Harders clan as well, but for Tommy himself. He sired last night the winner of the Perth Cup over the sprint and the Galaxy winner last night as well, West on Booney. Literally, there's not a box that wasn't ticked off last night. It was just spectacular across the board.
Yeah, look, it's your hometown Group 1s, and we only have 2 here in the Dogs in Perth, so they're majorly special. And Tommy missed his window. He was at the Golden Easter Egg Series when he was at the peak of his powers, and it flooded there that year, and they put the whole series back in Sydney a week, which clashed with Perth. So he missed his window, and honestly, after watching dogs your whole life in Perth and growing up here, I thought our window had missed as well with ever being anywhere near a Perth Cup or getting into a final. So to have a night like that last night where not only the dog that you've bred yourself at home, he's got up and Tommy's had a red letter night, it's really hard to believe. It still just feels a bit like a dream, yeah.
Well, Uncle Tommy had a West on Poppy. Did you own the bitch?
No, we picked her up. That was a really big litter, that one. There was a bunch of girls. West on Booney's mum is a litter sister to West on Poppy, so Uncle Tommy and West on Booney are very, very closely related.
Wow. What a click that is. What a click that's proven to be. Group 1 staying final on the one night as well as the sprint. It's a line that clearly matches really well with Tommy's bloodlines.
Yeah, it's really clicked, and there's a few other sisters out there that have been to him as well, and those pups are coming through the pipeline, so we've got the magnet out this morning trying to get out and find some of those. They can be really valuable.
I bet you are. We'll come back to Tommy Shelby and the breeding in a moment, but let's first just focus on Group 1 Perth Cup for you, Steve. We've known each other for a really long period of time. It's not like you've got hundreds of dogs. You've got a small operation when it comes to how many kennels you have available. So you have to be really select, and it's not a situation where you go to a gunfight with an arsenal of bullets in the gun to fire. You've got limited bullets to fire against some of the other kennels that have got lots of guns and lots of bullets. So it's challenging, but to get your hometown Perth Cup, I know that a lot of Tommy Shelby's wins were special for you, but what about this one, the Perth Cup? How does this one rank for you?
Oh, look, we took a knife into Afghanistan last night, really, when you looked at the firepower we were up against. Very fortunate from out there. But your hometown race, obviously we got a really fortunate ride with Tommy, and we went into the biggest races on the East Coast, and they were amazing. They were very special. You could feel the history in the tracks and the races on those nights. But the track that you grow up with, the first time you ever see a dog race, and the first dog you ever owned, the first winner you ever had, it's just different. It's special. For a local person, I suppose your hometown cup elevates in prestige up to any of the biggest ones in the country. So, we genuinely thought our window would ever close to be near a Perth Cup with Tommy, because they're so hard to win. And you looked at the field last night, and those dogs are amazingly talented. So, for all them breaks unfolding in the way in the run and watching it unfold, it was pretty hard to believe it was happening. I thought I must have been still at home in bed asleep, and I was still dreaming, hoping this was how it was going to unfold.
Hey, Steve, the dog itself, though, Uncle Tommy, like he was the outsider of the field. Probably it'd be a box draw thing, I'm not sure. But he's 20 starts for 13 wins. He's now 6 times to the track and distance for 4 wins, a second and a third. Like, 20-1, why?
Hasn't done too much wrong. He's a really talented dog. When he first came along, the distance was probably a little bit past him, so we just kept him at the 400 metres, and he took to it aplomb. He was really roaring around the 400s, and he's worked his way through his grades and matured really nicely and just keeps winning races. And I would have thought that the price is probably a lot to do with the quality of the dogs that were in the field drawn against him, and they were fantastic animals, and I couldn't argue with that at all. Box 8 does you no favours, but sometimes, very rarely, a speed map unfolds as it looks on paper, and it did look a little rough last night, that there was going to be a bit of tangling and bumping, and maybe somebody could get a clean run down the outside, and early speed helped him out a little.
Absolutely. First on the scene there to strike when Sunset Frazier was potentially a little bit vulnerable. All honest to Uncle Tommy and yourself, was a huge win, and great for the Harders too. They've been wonderful in the sport here, and have invested in yourself and your kennel really, really heavily. Great to see them get the results. So Uncle Tommy deserves the limelight, but let's get back to the guy that is never far out of the spotlight, Tommy Shelby himself. He's a dog that really had captured the imagination of all greyhound racing fans while on the track. He's now gone to become the first really commercially viable WA stud dog in the history of greyhound racing. Not only is he making a splash nationally here in Australia, but we chatted last night, he's actually now sending multiple vials up to the UK and Ireland, and there's going to be dozens of litters up there by Tommy Shelby in the years to come.
How popular are they going to be?
And I mean, we talk about St. Paddy's Day. Tommy's up there. He's already the toast of the town up there. I think his oldest pup's up there around 12 or 13 months, but how exciting this is, Steve, for you. And now having results like last night, that's only going to spread, and his popularity is just going to continue to go through the roof in the upcoming months and years.
Yeah, look, a UK tank went over with some vials about a year ago, and they were very popular. And just early this year, we've sent a tank into Ireland, which has been hugely popular. And I guess we've looked at it and thought that we've brought sires out from the international for many years in Australia to try and freshen up our bloodlines, and the crosses have worked so well. So why not go the other way? And he seemed like the right dog with the right name to get over there, and I hope they're enjoying the spoils of Paddy's Day today.
Steve, wonderful story. You enjoy Paddy's Day today with a big victorious smile on your face. Well done.
Yeah, hard to get that one off.
Well done, Stevie.
Thanks, guys.